In 1869, Dmitry Mendeleev put together the composition or collective works of a lot of people and organized various different elements into what we now call the periodic table. The groundbreaking activity behind that periodic table was huge. We went from an era of alchemists and unlocked the foundation of chemistry. Since this invention, many advancements in science and medicine have happened, plastics and the like, all for the benefit of humanity because somebody did the work to organize or create an organizing structure to which allowed many, many, many different people to combine what are seemingly naturally occurring things that actually do have organization to it. Hi, I'm Scott Santucci. I'm the President and Chief Growth Catalyst with Growth Enablement Ecosystems. We're talking about the formula of success and how you put together the right selling system. And specifically, we're talking about the design tools and process models to organize the system. In this video, we're going to talk about we need to be clear about having clarity between your business strategy and your customer strategy. And when you don't have that clarity, all things can get haywire. We need to be able to create the requirements for what message discipline we need to have, because we need to have very tight message discipline if we're going to bring everybody together in terms of selling as a team. And we're going to need to develop a process to bring this to life to customers that's very, very simple. So what? To make an effective selling system, you have to be in alignment with all of the parts. It's the responsibility of everybody on the team to understand all three of these parts, and you can use a canvas to map it all out. So what we're going to do is we're going to first start with the very first principle, which is we have to create clarity of the strategy. So what we're introducing here is the first layer of the canvas, and I like to layer this the investors, and we have two groups of investors. But these investors we need to know what they want. We need to help them understand what they're spending, and we need to help them what they get. Who are our two buckets of investors? Well, it's our executive leadership of our company, but it's also our customers. And it's very important for us to put our customers at this level to make sure that we could see any alignment. Now, it's easy to start off with your sales and marketing leadership because we think that they tend to be the ultimate arbiters. But when you ask the question, what is it that they want, you get different answers between sales and marketing. The other thing, too, is there's more people involved because more people are spending money or budget dollars to help the sales organization. Human resources, finance is involved, product teams are involved, and ultimately the CEO is involved. So we need to make sure that we understand what is the consensus of these people want and what is it they individually want. What are they spending and what are they collectively spending and what are they getting? On the customer side, we need to be really, really clear who the wallet owners are that we're after. Now, in order to understand all of these different parts together, in order to tune or design our system to be able to give them what they want and be good stewards of the money that they're spending, we need to have some requirements. And the requirements that we're going to use is following the audience message messenger. But the requirements, the fundamental goal of our requirements is to optimize the business relationship between our customers and ourselves. And that means we need to synthesize or orchestrate all of the different resources. So the strategy that we ultimately have is we want to build and manage a portfolio of revenue streams that are matched to buyer relationship types. So that's our strategy up there. We don't need to deal with any of those stakeholders anymore. How you actually go about doing it is a different issue. But as an individual salesperson, you need to be aware of those competing goals. Or as a marketer, you need to be aware of those competing goals because ultimately you're going to be involved in this system somehow. So the next part then is, how do we define the informational requirements of our customer? Because ultimately our design point is a relationship. The fundamental design point of that relationship is expectations. How do we define out the information required to meet expectations? Because expectations is can be a very fluid thing. And how will this work? Well, what we're going to do is we've already mentioned in previous videos about this idea of a relationship rhythm, and you can pattern match it to move along the way. So all we have to do is just take down from our library a relationship. In this particular case, since we're selling outcomes, the prescriptive relationship is the one that we're looking for. We know that our audience type, our buyer type, is a decider. We know that the decider probably doesn't know what they want, or how to reach it, but they want an outcome. So how do we model out that information? Well, we need to just go through the checklist. We need to know what their goal is. We need to know what their perception of value is. We need to know who the wallet owner is that's going to make those decisions. We need to be able to understand what the agreement network is involved. We need to be able to understand the initiative type that they're working on, and what is their event horizon for realizing value. Well, now we also know that given that decider type, we need to have an overall messaging umbrella architecture. So our outcome wheel has to be populated with a thoughtful strategy. So that means we have to write thoughtfully, et cetera. But ultimately, that wheel or that organizational construct means, what vision do we have that matches to their goal? What inventory of impact propositions can we make that match to the perception, how they perceive value? Let's start with identifying who our target role is to match to that wallet owner, and learn everything that we can about them, emotively, analytically, where they report to, what kind of decision-making structure they're going, what type. The more we know about the wallet owner, the more we want to. And again, it has to be very authentic and human-based knowledge. Once we understand the agreement network, we can start pattern matching this out. I'm not an advocate of personas here. What we need to be able to do is we need to be able to identify very clearly the specific roles involved in making this outcome real, plot it out on a map, and show what the relationships are with each other to help our salespeople navigate that. We've got to be able to provide the subject matter expertise that matches with the initiative type. So for example, if it's a program management type level initiative, we need to make sure that we have subject matter experts familiar with program management techniques and standards. In terms of an event horizon, we need to be able to give them a payback journey. Then what we know is that in order to complete this circuit, the messenger type that we need to be building is a specialist messenger type. So what we need to be able to do is to recruit and develop the talent for it. We need to be able to build out and make sure that they have the right expertise to connect our vision with the goal of the client. They need to have the right kind of financial acumen to be able to translate our impact propositions with value with the way that the client perceives value, and how to navigate that. And that acumen is going to be different at different altitude levels. We need to be able to make sure that the salesperson has the ability to establish a rapport at that wallet with an individual wallet owner at the targeted role elevation that we're building. We need to make sure that our salespeople have the skill to navigate, the ability to navigate an agreement network based on the role model that we've got, so it's not so overwhelming. We need to equip them or make sure that they have the knowledge, a general understanding about how a program level initiative works and how to work with a program level subject matter expert. And then we need to make sure that they understand what the cadence of and can manage the cadence of a relationship as the benefit realization is going to happen over time. So that's as simple as it is. That's how we define the informational requirements. So now how do we define the engagement strategy and the roles? Well, the engagement strategy is pretty easy, because the engagement strategy is going to be, how do we plot out over time, what are those key milestones that are going to make the client's light bulb go off, so that they've taken our thoughtfulness and matched it with their, their storm cloud, and boom, the light bulb goes off. Well, we can pattern match this out by identifying responsibilities to start off with. So the responsibility of, say, the sales leaders is to be the primary owner of managing the expectations of those clients. That means the sales organization has to publish what that looks like, and they have to help get people on message. They can't just do it without structure, or else the rest of the organization isn't going to be able to do it. On the other hand, the marketing organization needs to be really good at taking all of these messages, and instead of just delivering them as a whole bunch of different assets, putting together as stories. So cutting and editing and organizing information to a variety of different stories that's useful and easy to help the specialists help the light bulbs go off for clients. So that's very simple in terms of roles. Now, how do we define common objectives to manage the flow of that information? Well, that's easy too. We can break down the sales or these interaction stages by 5 very simple things. Simple thing number 1, the P represents, do we know who our target population is, and do we have contact lists for them? So let's say that we know our wallet owner maybe is the chief medical officer or a CFO, and we've built out target role maps. Do we have a list of all of the chief medical officers in the world? Are they organized and grouped? So that's what we mean with give very, very tangible. Do we have that in terms of P? Then we go into the first one, which is gain access. How many of those chief medical officers did we meet with last year? What do we need to do to be able to meet with them? What requirements? How do we combine all of this information so that we get more meetings with them? It's a binary 1 or 0 activity that we can measure to. Yes, a lot of work goes into it, but ultimately either we get access to them or not. And what's great about these yes or no things is that it assumes value on both sides, that the customer has perceived value, and the seller has delivered value. Third bucket, the handshake, represents part number 3, which is the client has agreed to explore further. And that's a binary thing. It's basically the chief medical officer saying, hey, Steve, what it is that you've talked about makes sense. We'll agree to invest time to explore your idea further. Well, guess what? Because that's a goal that both share, it's verifiable. More importantly, that now becomes a opportunity that we can track as well. The fourth one, the light bulb one, is, have we been able to help that vision come to life? So in the first stage, we've gotten the buy-in from the executive. In the next stage, we've gotten the buy-in from the executives agreement network. We've sold it internally. The internal organization, we are on board with this approach. That's gain vision, gain buy-in. And the last stage then is they've accepted our proposal and our business case and the terms associated with it and the funding. So those are the ways. There's only 5 things that we need to be concerned about when we manage a sales campaign, and those are the things that we can design to. Okay, so how do we define the roles and responsibilities of all of the people involved in making this system work? Well, when we start talking about, okay, we've got these objectives that we want to tune to. We've identified the roles and responsibilities, and we've identified the information architecture, et cetera. Well, we want to start with, hey, our sales, our messages, we need to start developing messages that get clients to think about new ways of doing things. So that's sort of the brain. Or we need them to give them patterns and prescriptions of what this stuff looks like. That's the puzzle piece. We need to give them playbooks of paths moving forward. We need to give them some formulas, the success formulas that match to the proof part. So these are the representation of 4 Ps. What's possible, possibilities. The next one is patterns. Then the third one is path, and the fourth one is proof. Now, on the sales end, we have to be able to do the same thing. So if marketing is producing us great content around what's possible, great stories around what's possible, well, we have to be able to help our clients see it. So we have to have the skills to help them see that what's possible matches to them. in terms of the puzzle pieces, we have to be able to get them to engage, to actually take our puzzle pieces and think about them and apply them inside their organization. In terms of our playbooks, we need to be able to help turn those into concrete maps for our individual clients. And then we have to create a checklist or solutioning guide to help manage all of the different proof points and help our client check off that they've done those. Those are the things that responsibilities that messengers need to do. So how do we ensure message alignment and coordination across all of these roles? Well, this is a very challenging thing, and this is why the word rhythm is really important. It's like sheet music. What we need to do is we need to make sure, and somebody needs to go through and make sure that the work that we've done with the goal matches with the vision and experience, and that the experiences of our rep, and that we can take that element and make sure it's consistent across the P, all the five sales objectives. So ultimately today, no one really owns this, and this is where burden gets placed on the reps. But what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to tune and make sure you can double check all of the content for each one of these different buckets, just to make sure that all of those areas across the board are coordinated. And it's good to double check and triangulate on each of these things and make tweaks. So you're going to have to develop an agile approach to be able to do it. And it's easy if you let it be easy and not let it be overwhelming. Just have some structure to be able to do it and work on it on a day-to-day basis. So that's the construct. So what we've got now is our system is tuned to a prescriptive model. That's fantastic. So we started out in terms of let's ask everybody involved in our strategy. Now that we've done that work in a very organized way, that we've been able to organize, that we've got our content, how do we create a process to bring all that stuff to life? This sounds all very mechanical, boxes and wires and things like that, but you have to be able to do this because the reality is if you are currently organized in silos, you need an organizing structure to help people work across silos and define roles and responsibilities, or else this isn't going to work. So that's sort of the setup or system software, and everybody needs to understand their role. And it sounds way more complicated than it really is. It's really helpful when you put it in motion. So let's go back to creating a process to bring this message to life. Ultimately, what we're talking about here is a heroic journey or a hero's journey, which we'll share more information on later. But a hero's journey is a standard tool that's used for storytelling, and it's actually used in movies constantly, in literature and things like that. But really, what we're talking about, this box represents of this is what's possible hero selling. When we learn how to sell about need, we're not really having to help create curiosity for our customers. So what we've got to be able to do is, in part one, it's the call to adventure. The hero is in their ordinary world. They get called to adventure and they refuse it a couple times. Finally, they find their right the right mentor to help guide them through. And then at stage number 4, boom, that's when they're starting their journey. That correlates very nicely to our part where the client agrees to explore further. That's the successful meeting. So what we've got to be able to do is we have to recognize we're not the hero. Our salespeople are directors of our client's hero story. So what we have to do is we have to design ourselves in as that mentor, the Obi-Wan Kenobi to Luke Skywalker. That's what we have to do. So this is the box that we're in. So that's what the outcome story is. So what is our design point? Our design point is an outcome success story. Tagline, what's possible to reality. That's what we're doing. And that's all the sales process is to go through a hero story and help encourage companies or individuals within companies to get curious, to do that call for adventure, to rely on us for help, and then to manage that process internally and go through all the trials and tribulations and hopefully rely on us to help them through that journey. So if we look at this, who's it starring? It's starring your customer. Who are the producers? Your company are the overall producers. Who's the director? The sales team, because they are responsible for making sure our relationship, it fits and meets their expectations. So there's a lot of burden on them. So what's the plot of our story? So the story is really simple, and I'm going to go through it once with all of the little icons just to show why they are of what they are. But really, it starts with a decider. Again, remember, a decider is just a buyer type. It's meant as a placeholder. We'll fill in details later. That decider has a problem in their current world, and they just really can't figure it out. And then one day they meet a specialist, and that specialist gives them an idea and makes them feel like something that they just need to figure out. So that's act one. Boom. Created curiosity. Act number two. Act number two starts with the first meeting between the specialist, the sage specialist, this wise individual, and that decider. And in that, the specialist shares all of this wonderful, thoughtful wisdom with the decider. The decider gets an idea. You know what? I can accomplish this. I can seize that call. I can take that call. I can go on this quest. Guess what? Them accepting the quest is act two. That story's over. You can picture this happening over and over again. So act three starts with the decider. The decider has this idea. That decider now has the challenge of communicating all of the other people inside their organization to get them bought in on the idea. It means that decider has to get their internal team bought in. It means they have to get their peers bought in. It means they have to get their executives bought in. And there's a strategy for each one. And those processes of getting different people bought in is also going to be an ongoing give and take process through lots of conversations. And it's going to require thoughtfulness on their part. So hopefully they're developing their own thoughtfulness or their own ideas, but hopefully they're leveraging a database or our information, our stories, our success stories. And hopefully they're also leveraging our specialists to come in and help get people on the same page. Once all of that's completed and the light bulb goes off and everybody has that shared vision of success, guess what? We've completed act three. The story's practically over. So that's basically what it is. 3 acts. Act number 1 is the call to adventure. Act number 2 is that successful meeting and agree to go forward. And act number 3 is the process of going through that hero's journey. So when you think about a sales process that we've got, our sales process really only has 3 parts. Part number 1 is we have to create curiosity. So all of the structure and all of the details that we've got, that's just prep work, right? Now we have to really work on editing out our story. Our goal is to create we have to call our client to adventure. And what we want to be able to do is find a receptive audience to our new idea. That's it. That's all we want to do. So we want to be able to put all of those different threads, all of those different calls out as much as possible. The second stage of our process is we want that individual, that stakeholder, that executive to envision the outcome. So we've gotten them curious. Now we want them to paint in their head that this journey is worth the risk for them. So we've got to get really good at helping them see for themselves what this is going to look like so they accept that mission. Our objective is to help them envision what's possible for them. So we talk about all these possibilities in this exchange. In this stage of our process, we're going to want to be able to do it. And a key to success here is we're going to want to do this very tight within 1 or 2 meetings. Then the next stage that we want to go to is now we're in the role of supporting. We're on our hero, our client hero's team. And in that, we're helping drive the internal advocacy for our client. Our role is to guide them through the journey. And what our objective is to help that sponsor of ours gain the buy-in required to move forward and keep managing that as momentum. So that's it. This is as simple as it can be. We want to have the discipline to make sure that the strategy is in alignment. And when it's not, be aware of it, because that's going to create friction in our system. We want to make sure that our system has requirements. We leverage a prescriptive relationship rhythm. We already have that as a default. We've got a lot of templates to already start from. That's basically making sure that we have our cast down, what the mechanics are of how we're going to tell these stories. And then finding what is it we're designing toward. We're designing a what's possible sales process that only has 3 parts. Part number 1 is we want to create curiosity. Part number 2 is we want to help create an envisioned outcome. And part number 3 is that we want to move on the mode of internal advocacy. So the key points is we can use this overall rhythm canvas to organize all of these different parts so that it becomes orchestrated and aligned. So we can see the whole system and do it systematically. I went through this in a few minutes. You can do this in a few days and keep doing it and iterating it. The strategy, the requirements, and processes must all align. And you can see how elegant all of those things fit. We understood the business strategy. We said, based on our business strategy, we need to have these requirements tuned. And then based on these requirements tuned, we have got to hide that complexity to our customers. We're going to do it in a very simple way. We're going to manufacture these stories in 3 parts. Everything is measurable. Everything is verifiable. Everything is researchable. Everything is organizable. And there's a role designed for everybody. So what? If you're selling something new, your biggest barrier is overcoming. This is the way we do it, both internally and externally. The canvas can help you carve out the space to let your teams thrive, and more importantly, give you all of that quote unquote software that you need to overcome. This is the way we've done it all. We've always done it, because this is the way that you've always done it is exactly the reason that we're in the problem in the first place. Thank you very much for your time. Stay tuned for the next video, which is going to be about creating curiosity.